Hi children, welcome back to today's social science class. Let's get started with the second chapter in political science, that is Indian foreign policy. In this lesson, I will be explaining to you about the nature of Indian foreign policy, the Panchshila Principles, non-aligned movement, disarmament and anti-apartheid policy. Children, I will now ask you some questions. You have to think in your mind. Is it possible for us to live all alone on this planet Earth without anybody's support? Definitely not. We need the help and support of each other. So we are all interdependent on each other. Take the example of a farmer. The farmer grows crops. Okay, so but the farmer's crops should be sold in order to get profit. In the similar way, a rich man cannot say, I am very rich, I have lot of money, I don't need a farmer's help. Is it possible? No. The rich man, to eat, to live, he is dependent on the farmer. So like this we see everybody is dependent on each other to fulfill their necessity. A farmer has to sell the goods that he has grown, the crops that he has grown. The trader has to sell his goods. A businessman or an entrepreneur, he needs workers to work for him. People may be rich, they may have big companies, but they need laborers. So like this we see every person in the society or in a country needs to depend on each other. In a similar way, children, we should understand that no country can live alone without having any connections with the other countries. Every country is dependent on each other. Therefore, nowadays, foreign policy has become essential for each and every country. So, let us learn more about it. So, if a country is independent, it can take the decisions related to the country on its own. In the same way, the country has a right to decide what kind of relationship it should have with the other countries of the world. See children, there are some countries which are rich in certain natural resources. Some countries are good in agriculture, but they may not be having petroleum and its products. So what do? They export their agricultural products and they import petroleum. So this give and take is there. So this is an example to show that one country needs to maintain good relationship with another country. So out of 200 countries in the world, very few countries are strong and most of them are weak. So according to the experts, every sovereign country has its own foreign policy. A sovereign country means what? Is that country which is not under any other country's control, either for internal or external issues. Now let us understand about the foreign policy of our country India. So children, it is important to note that our country India had its own foreign policy before independence and after independence also. India has been considered as one of the major countries of the world with its huge population, natural resources, military, intellectual and industrialized capacities. India is one of the few countries in the world who pursues its own foreign policy. As you all know, India became a republic in the year 1947. And as an independent country, India wants peaceful coexistence with the other countries of the world. Therefore, the major aims of our foreign policy are national security, enriching national economy, spreading the cultural richness of our country in other countries, by increasing the number of friendly countries and to check the power of enemy countries, and lastly, achieving world peace and coexistence. In the radio speech that was given on the 7th of September 1946, Jawaharlal Nehru outlined the foreign policy of India for the first time to the general public, that is, to the citizens of the country. The speech gave an indication of the foreign relationships India is going to foster with countries like America, Russia, and China. Jawaharlal Nehru managed the foreign policies of our country, India, as an external affairs minister, apart from being the prime minister as well. Hence, we see many a times the foreign policy of India is also called as foreign policy of Nehru. It is because of the important role that he played. Various international and national issues have influenced the foreign policy of India. Issues like national interest, geographical interest, political situation, economic interest, military issues, public opinion, international situation, and many other issues have influenced and shaped our country's foreign policy. Now let us study about the basic aspects of India's foreign policy. The first one, Panchshila Principles. So, though countries have their own social, economical, political, and cultural systems, they have always strived to foster healthy relationships with other countries. So, based on the similar lines, that is to maintain good relationship with our neighboring country, in the year 1954, both India and China accepted Panchshila Principles in order to foster their international relationship. At that time, Jawaharlal Nehru was the Prime Minister of India and Chow En-lai was the Premier of China. So, the following are the 5 principles called as the Panchshila Principles. That is, first one, respecting each other's sovereignty and regional interest. Secondly, non-invasion of each other. Third one, non-interference in each other's internal issues. Fourth, mutual cooperation and respect. Fifth, peaceful coexistence. So, children, these are the basic fine building blocks of India's foreign policy. The second aspect of our foreign policy was non-aligned movement. So the world was divided into 2 power blocks, that is after the Second World War. The democratic countries were under the USA and the communist countries were led by the USSR. So in those days, India followed the policy of being non-aligned to either of these 2 blocks. It said that it would remain neutral. It didn't want to support one bloc and gain the enmity of the other. Hence, it was successful in commanding the faith from both the blocs as it remained neutral. This helped India to secure financial assistance from USA and secure military aid from USSR. It also dealt with every international event independently and welcomed or criticized any issue independently. The credit of creating an independent policy of being non-aligned and making it a part of the foreign policy goes to our country, India. After Nehru, the prime ministers like Lal Bahadur Shastri and Indira Gandhi followed the principle of eye for an eye in foreign policy. That is, they followed the same principles of Nehru. The wars that were held in the year 1965 and 1971 with our neighboring country Pakistan was guided by this policy only. Later on, the Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee tried to reform our foreign policy and strived to have better relationship with Pakistan. The next aspect of our foreign policy is anti imperialism. So, the foreign policy of India very much opposes imperialism. So, what is imperialism? It is an attempt by a sovereign country to take over another sovereign country with the intention of ruling it for its personal gains. It was natural for our country India, which gained its independence from an imperial country, to oppose such moves of other countries. We all know that how the English came and took complete control over our country India, and how difficult it was for us to send them back or to get independence. Therefore, India very strongly opposed imperialism. So it was against imperialism. No corner of world shall have imperialism, declared India in the Conference of Asian Countries that was held in New Delhi and Bandung, that is from in 1949 and 1955. The next policy is anti-apartheid policy. So what is this apartheid, children? Apartheid is an attempt by a race or people of a particular skin color to subjugate another race of people of different skin color in the name of supremacy. In simple words, I'll tell you, apartheid means what? Wherein people are ill treated or they are not given respect because of their skin color. Okay, they are differentiated. So this apartheid is an affront to human rights and world peace. The foreign policy of our country declared that no country of the world shall practice this. During the Varna system and all in our country, we have seen how the untouchables and all were treated. Something like that only is this racial discrimination which was practiced in the other parts of the world. See, till recently, the minority white people were ruling the majority black people in South Africa. That is the Negroes who are black in color, they were not given their rights in Africa. India had declared its support to Nelson Mandela and his party, that is the African National Congress, who were opposing the apartheid in their country. So we see how India actively supports the other countries when there is any need. The last aspect of India's foreign policy is disarmament. So the process of elimination of specific arms step by step is called disarmament. There is an increased competition in today's world, children, for the production, sale and collection of arms in the world, means weapons. So many of the countries are worried that this massive scale of arms could lead to Third World War. People in different countries are preparing themselves to become strong. So there is a fear that countries with massive arms may attack another country intentionally, that is purposely or by mistake or by accident, which may lead to massive devastation. We know the two world wars have caused a lot of destruction. Okay, that is why there is a need for disarmament, that is to reduce or to completely stop the gathering and accumulation of weapons or either using it. And the presence of the nuclear arms makes this issue more complicated. Our country, India, being a peace loving country, advocates and supports for the reduction of arms qualitatively as well as quantitatively. Since the time of Nehru, we see India has supported disarmament process. Though it is impossible and impractical also to attain total disarmament, because not to have weapons means not to strengthen the defense system, because nowadays there are so many things going on in the world like terrorism and all. If a country wants to protect itself, it has to have a very strong defense system. Therefore we see, though it is impossible and impractical to attain total disarmament, every country needs arms for its protection, but an attempt can be made in order to reduce the number of arms. The Constitution of India, according to Article 51, advocates for a foreign policy that aims at establishing international peace and cooperation. The Department of External Affairs of the central government plays a decisive role in formulating our foreign policy. It always considers our national interest and public opinion. Indian foreign policy aims at strengthening the UNO. India strives to have strong foreign relationship with the countries of the world through the SAARC and Commonwealth of Nations. Moreover, children, we see that India has been one of the major members of the UNO, supporting the cause of disarmament. So with this, we end this chapter, Indian Foreign Policy. And in this lesson, I have explained to you about the nature of Indian foreign policy and the basic aspects of our foreign policy. That is Panchshila Principles, Non-Aligned Movement. Then I explained to you about anti-imperialism, anti-apartheid policy and disarmament. Hope you have understood, children. Thank you. Take care and stay safe.